Welcome back to the Taiwan Outlook. I'm your host, Raymond Wu, and in this segment, we're going to continue our discussion with our guest, Professor Liu Bih-Rong from Soochow University, and we're going to talk about a very important political and international event, and that is the U.S. presidential election on November 4th. Professor Liu, I know you've studied American politics also for a long time, and if I may ask, to share your views with the audience, is the fact that for this election that happens on November 4th, 2008, given the external and domestic circumstances, what do you think is the significance of the election by itself? And we're going to talk about the candidates a little later, but just on the election itself, what do you think? What's at stake for the American people?
For the American people, so far, you can see the main issue the election is the American economy. So they have to elect the president, and the new president is capable to save American economy. And we always see, as a foreigner, as an outsider watcher of the American politics, we see the leadership in Washington or in the world. So we can see the leadership in the Washington circle within the Beltway. Or you can see the leadership as the United States in the world stage. Both of them are declining. So we see no leadership, actually. So we, as outsiders, we expect the American if they want to lead the world, somebody have to come out to play the leadership role in the world and also in the United States. So that's why I think for American people, this might be a turning point. And maybe a little bit of transformation with American society, but I think it's a very significant, and particularly in the United States, even there are several books published that say now the post-American world, now maybe some other new country, leading country gradually emerged. But still, the United States is a leading country. Nobody can ignore the reality. We still expect the Americans to play the leading role. So that's why I think it's a very important election.
I very much appreciate your perspective, because I do think also the economy, especially given the global financial crisis that we see today, is very, very important. Like we all say in political science, that people vote with their pocketbook. So the quality of life issue, of course, is very important. And the second issue is, as you mentioned, during President George W. Bush's 8 years in office, the American standing in the world, especially on moral issues, has really suffered serious blows. And certainly, I think a lot of people around the world do not look at America in the same way as they look at America 8 years ago. I think the new president that's coming in January 20th needs to restore the American standing in the world. Whether it's going to be a continued leadership role, that's to be debated. But the fact of the matter remains is the American standing is not the same as it was 8 years ago. But if we go back a little bit, maybe 2 years ago, to when the presidential primary season first started for both major parties in the U.S., the Democrats and the Republicans. I think two things that stood out throughout the primary season, as well as in the general election, is one is gender, sex of the candidates and things, and second thing is race. Of course, we're going to have, possibly the first African American, president, in the U.S. first time ever in history, and certainly he's the first, African American candidate of a major party for president in American history. What do you think those two issues? How important are they? And what kind of role have they played in terms of for the voters to decide who they're going to support in this presidential election?
It is very interesting. If you ask American voters, what do you think about gender and the race? Certainly they said no, they may play no role. It's not important. We elect the most capable people to be our president. But actually, several weeks ago, I just wondered when American voters, before they cast their vote, and maybe they think, hey, do I have to vote a black man or a white man, or
yes.
a male or a female.
That's
so
right.
these two issues, I think, are still in their mind, alone in there, and influence their behavior.
Yes.
But during the recent weeks, I found that the issue of economic crisis or financial crisis growing larger and larger, and the people gradually they think, hey, that's the most important issue, more important than gender and race. So we have to elect somebody they can rescue our economy, rather than think about race or something. But it's still, during the presidential campaign, you can see, particularly the Republican camp, they attacked the Democrat camp, and with very no surprising tactics.
Yes.
They try to attack the gender or gender, race, and religion.
That's right.
They say, Senator Obama is Muslim or something.
Yes.
So I don't think it's a very good example. America want to set it as a democracy to show the world,
exactly.
hey, we as a example of democracy.
Yes.
So that's why I can see. Former Secretary of State Colin Powell.
That's right.
Powell is, he said he supported Obama because the Republican their campaign tactics it's too over.
That's right.
So I think it's so you asked me whether or not these two issues, and maybe economic issue will gradually emerge as more important than gender and race. But if you ask me another question, if the United States or American voters they fail to elect African American as a president, how about the next president?
That's right.
If we want to wait for another African American candidate to emerge, I think there's still a long time.
That's right.
Senator Obama is a very exceptional, special case. I don't think it represents the maturity of American people, general voters. Their general attitude, they say, now we can elect the African Americans anytime, or next term, but still another black president could be elected. I don't think so. So it's a very special case.
Yeah. One thing is that it's not until recent days when we look at the poll numbers, the number of undecided American voters have shrunk. It used to be in the neighborhood of 15–20%. And my personal suspicion is that for these people, maybe at the time the economy wasn't that bad, and also maybe for these people that responding saying that, I haven't decided, I haven't made up my mind. Maybe for these people that race and gender were important. Maybe. We need to do further study on that.
Yeah.
But do you think from Senator Hillary Clinton, from Governor Palin, and then also from Senator Obama, do you think this election in itself, starting with the primaries, has really, produced that breakthrough, breaking that glass ceiling, on race and gender in American politics? And also, very interestingly, that you raised the point earlier that if we don't see an African American president, in this U.S. election, and we're going to wait possibly a very long time before another candidate emerges. So do you think this election by itself, no matter what happens on November 4th, has already produced a breakthrough, for the American politics, that glass ceiling over race and gender has already been broken?
I think more or less. Now people can talk about the possibility to have African American to be their president.
Yes.
They start to discuss that, and they will see there is always a possibility. Even the next term, even if Obama failed to be elected as president, even next term they'll come back to another white male and they compete with each other. So still people they can. It's not a taboo, it's not impossible things. They think about always a possibility. So I think more or less the taboo has been broken. Yeah.
Okay. And also the fact is, I know this is a huge question that's probably not fair, but the fact is that we only have about a week to about 10 days left before the election, before America decides. What do you think? Other than the economy, other than American standing in the world, what are the other factors that may be important for the American voters in the next 7 to 10 days before they go to the polls and cast their ballots?
I think Americans, they need change.
Okay.
A change. So Senator Obama represents a new generation.
Okay.
So that's why former Secretary of State Paul said Obama represents a transformative figure. So he can play, so Obama can play the role to transform the American society. You can see the McCain, Senator McCain, he is also very maverick. He also wants to change Republican.
That's right.
But gradually we found that he moving toward to right.
Right.
So the gap between Senator McCain and the Republicans, hardliners, narrow and narrow. So there's no difference. So in this case, we can see, we expect Obama, once he elected as a president, the one thing the American will face a new generation, a new, totally different style, new president, and the world will also prepare to receive a new American leader. Maybe he has a new approach, more multilateral or more culturally sensitive. And you can see those new conservative factions will gradually, their power or their influence will be decreased. So maybe another more pragmatic decision makers will emerge in American decision-making center. So in that case, for Americans and for the world, I think we are exciting to, if everything has happened like this way, we're exciting to receive a new situation.
Yeah. Before we break, Professor Liu, what are your predictions? Who's going to win on November 4th?
I predict Obama will win the election.
Because?
You can see the poll. You can see the gap.
Rather than the poll numbers, yes.
Yeah.
But do you think that he's actually going to be the person who will actually bring changes to Washington?
Yes, I think he can bring changes, but I not guarantee he will success. But the new change that can be expected.
Yeah, I think also, very interestingly, you brought up the American standing in the world. I think after 8 years of George W. Bush, I think a lot of countries, a lot of peoples around the world would like to see a new America that lead by example, not just by force.
Yeah.
I think that's certainly something, maybe the world is waiting for a change as well. And when we come back, we're going to continue to talk with Professor Liu, and we're going to discuss something a little more closer to home. What will happen with the new U.S. president? What will his policy be towards Asia and towards cross-strait relations? We'll be right back.